Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weisheit, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. And interestingly enough, I think all of us have changes in our lives. Some of those we've tried to coordinate and encourage on our own. Some of those just happen to us. I recently had the opportunity to make a major life change. I had the opportunity to dig deep and go back to my roots and become a social worker again, and become a primary social worker, and develop programs that make a difference for other people. Now, the reason I decided to do that is because everyone deals with change differently. Two things that I've learned about change. One, change is ubiquitous, meaning change will always be taking place. And so we can do one of two things. We can either change or die. One of my favorite quotes is that the only people that don't change are people that live in asylums that are not able to change, and those who reside in cemeteries, those who have passed. So we either change or die. I found a way to make some changes in my life and adapt to some difficult situations. It is springtime. It is a time for hope and renewal. We just got past the most precious expression of hope, which is Easter. And as we go through Easter, a number of things we are reminded of. One is that Easter is always in a time of spring. Spring represents a time of renewal. The question is, are we willing to change? Are we able to embrace the change that is presented before of us? Some of us just decide, I'm not changing. I'm not doing it. It is not something I want to do. And it's interesting, the more we resist those kinds of concepts, the more they own us, the more difficult life can become. We have embraced in our community the most devastating storm that's ever come through. Ida has created tremendous and some long-lasting impacts in our lives. What I found in the last few days as I talk with others and talk with people who are still struggling with that is that we can either keep fighting the difficulty of that change and keep deciding that it is a difficulty, or we can embrace it. If we learn to embrace it, one of the things like St. Thomas More talked about in one of his books, we have to find a way to embrace the difficulty. If we don't, it will find a way to come back and haunt us. And it haunts us in ways that makes us somewhat miserable. If we don't find a way to embrace the change, then we are going to create more problems. And so here, some 8 months, approaching 9 months after this devastating storm hit our area, there are a number of people that still haven't gotten a great deal of changes to their home. But what we can do is change what we think. We can change our mind. Very often, one of the very wise people said, we change our mind or we change our job. Even if we don't have a certain job that we do for a living, the job we have of taking care of ourselves and others is a very important one. We can find a way to embrace that differently, and all we have to do is think about it differently. We have to find ways to look at hope. Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, as we've heard Andy Dufresne say in the show Shawshank Redemption. And in honor of my friend, Tad, who lost his battle with COVID, after being one of those people who was very hopeful, he was one of those people that really enjoyed life, despite some of the major challenges that he was faced with. He taught me how to embrace change. And it's very interesting that his beautiful wife, Marcia, has found a way to do that as well. She has found a way to embrace this major change in her life. And it was because of being grounded and somebody who is willing to face change that it taught me to find a way that very often, if we spend a great deal of time and energy complaining about some of the simple and maybe some of the insignificant things in our lives, we're losing focus on the big things. The bigger things are that we're supposed to be happy. We are made and created to find joy. The issue is, are we finding ways to get the things that are blocking that joy, some of the roadblocks to our happiness, Are we finding ways to get rid of those? Are we finding out how we can spend time with people who are joyful? Spend time with people who bring out the best in us. You know, the company we keep matters. It makes a difference. And so if we need to find a way to deal with or make a change in our lives, maybe it's a simple one. Maybe you can do what my friend Stacy Bermel taught me. Be thankful for 5 things each day. Remind yourself. I have a reminder on my phone. Every day at 8:45 a.m., a reminder goes off and it says 5 things. It is a reminder to be thankful for 5 things for that particular day. It is the reminder for me to stop focusing on all of the things that have been difficult and find a way to embrace those things that are simply challenges. If it is difficult, it takes a while. If it's impossible, it takes a little longer. It's a quote from my deceased aunt, June. And she found a way to overcome lots of different challenges. But it was all part of a mindset that we can change how we think, or we can die not wanting to change. The question becomes, which one will you do? I challenge you to embrace the change in your life. Get rid of the things that are not allowing you to find joy. Thank you for spending a little time with me today, and let's be hopeful with each other. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of our local programming here on HTV.